Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your elevated creativity, more joy, and prosperity. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been living an intuitive life for decades as a creative. That translates to transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 27 years through two businesses as a business strategist and a life designer. And prior to that, an entertainment publicist and talent manager. Follow Your Joy is an entrepreneurial resource for creatives sharing their challenge to victory stories through the lens of listening to their intuition. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions rather than lean on your logic and reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic for you, but you will live the beautiful life meant just for you. Want to learn how to access, trust, or up-level your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. Well, hello, creatives. How are you doing today? So I have a very special guest who I reconnected with a few months ago after 10 years. 10 years. Christie Flynn was a client back in 2014 when she was a health coach, health and wellness coach. And we re-engineered her business and transformed her money relationship and all that good stuff. And then we lost touch. We lost touch for a while, which now I know why, and you'll hear what happened. Because when she found me on LinkedIn, right, back in, it was November, I believe, I was so delighted to see her message in my, DM, but something was different about her energy and all her info on her profile that changed. And it read psychic medium and executive coach. And I said to myself, what? Wasn't she a health coach? Well, interesting. Really? I think I want to hear about this. What's going on with her? So I went to her website and, to at least kind of get a gist of what was going on before she and I really connected. And now I was really intrigued. And we continued to kind of do direct message each other very excitedly to then schedule a Zoom call to catch up. Wow, her story is as profound as it is inspiring. So you'll hear after a life-changing event, her intuition became heightened and she could see and feel and hear and know things about people and places and beyond. In other words, she finally embraced what she was after many years. So let's welcome Christie Flynn.
Thank you so much, Marla. I'm so excited to be here, spend time with you again.
Again, yes. Yeah, we've already had several Zoom calls, and I've even had a reading by you since then. So we've definitely caught up. Definitely caught up. Okay. So before we, dive into your story and the conversation, let me give you a proper introduction. So Christie is an executive coach and a consultant specializing in helping leaders and entrepreneurs and executives, a little bit of all the same, but make empowered decisions that align with their highest potential. Combining evidence-based mediumship, right, with over 20 years of professional expertise, Christie really guides clients through transformative insights and essentially taking action, right, on that. And she really compassionately offers grief support, growth-oriented readings, and intuitive development workshops. And of course, she's a speaker, right? Online and offline. She offers interesting tools, executive coaching to help bring clarity to her clients top tier challenges while developing really their leadership skills, right? For obviously lasting impact. So she serves clients across North America and Europe. All right. So let's go ahead and yeah, let's get some background for our listeners. So share, if you would please, just kind of the highlights, of your journey. What challenge happened that led you to this?
There was a couple of challenges, or we call them catalysts, but for the most part, the first one was the loss of my mother in 2003. And I have to say, in hindsight, looking back, I could see it evolving and preparing me prior to her passing,
Mhm.
but it all also started to just come to life where I could see colors, I could see energy, I knew things, saw things like you described. And then what actually catapulted me to the next step was 10 years later, I had to leave a relationship. And I knew that within my intuition and these gentle nudges and eventually left the relationship. And then that put me on another trajectory where it opened up more and more and more. It seemed more fluid after that, and it was coming through in my client sessions undeniably. As a professional health and wellness coach, I was seeing people in spirit, animals in spirit, their guides, and beyond. I say beyond because then there are experiences, energies that have no definition, but are there with love. And I remember I was speaking at an event. This person walked over to me and she asked me if I could read for her. Could I connect with her friend? And I was kind of taken aback. How did she know? And I went on, proceeded to offer a short reading. And then in that moment, and the experience of watching this piece come into her and even this burden of heaviness lift, I knew in that moment that was what I was supposed to be doing without a doubt. Life changing. I'll
Yeah,
never forget. Never forget that.
yeah, no kidding. I know it's just it's almost well yeah, it's otherworldly for sure. It's otherworldly. But I'm always a I love when we're able to really embrace what's in front of us that maybe we have been clouded to see. And it's also part of divine right timing. Right?
I completely agree. I even call it the blinders are opening and I'm coming out of the fog and seeing people, my experience, my life, what I'm doing,
Mhm.
uh, and it's not in the way I want it to be. And so coming to that realization and self-doubt with what's going on here, being a skeptic myself into what was going on, but it was so undeniable. That bird, the red bird, we have, cardinals, that idea of cardinals knocking on my window, and they're such a solitary bird that you often see in the treetops. They don't come and knock on your window.
Oh,
It, it's, having dreams or these vivid, clear experiences, and even the scent of my mother's perfume, and those things happening when I'm needing guidance. And then there it is. And these gentle whispers and nudges to follow your curiosity, follow this and see where it takes you to the end, kind of like that Alice in Wonderland experience. And
mhm.
so I followed without question.
Mhm.
And that's when my life started to open up more and more and more.
Mhm. Yeah, and when you were mentioning that your intuition heightens, this to me is where, and everybody listen to this for your own life. And that is, it's kind of when you recognize the difference between your brain and your intuition. In other words, it's the beginning of a much deeper, obviously, understanding and connection. There truly is, again, and y'all know if you've listened to any of my other, episodes, since that's the theme here, is listening to your intuition and knowing the difference between your beautiful intellect and logic and reasoning and the function of the brain and the function of intuition, which is completely different and completely separate. Although your brain may process the info from the intuition, all that is just a vessel for it to, to process the guidance you're getting from the intuition. But the point is, it sounds like to me at that juncture is when you really defined, right, the difference between the logic, the intellect, how you operated, and really listen to the intuition.
I completely agree with that because when you reflect back, it's those stepping stones that, and I journaled a lot so I could reflect, I could see, because intuition doesn't just flow through the gut, it flows through the mind, it flows through the heart, your soul, just this whole central nervous system, right? This holistic embodiment of intuition where you're in tune with yourself, and it's undeniable. It's showing you the way. This is where we either stop doing this and move on to this next step. Even though there's fear and there's resistance, you still go with courage because intuition is combined with joy. Joy and intuition. It's going to light you up. Follow that lightness. Follow that.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yeah, it's only our will and our logic that wants to stop that. So speaking of the joy, then share, what brings you joy in what you do, right? So if you're following your joy, which you are 100%, in the business, in how you serve that talent, that passion, what brings you joy?
I'll back it up just a little bit in that I used to originally share readings through a lot of these bigger events. And I had a manager at the time when I was first starting to help get myself out there. But what I realized after 2, 3 years, where I felt this isn't for me, the big events. I prefer the one-on-one, the small, more intimate conversations where you're connecting on a deeper level. You're communicating with them. You're really kind of drawing them in. And I love to hug my clients too at the end of the sessions, but I feel like the connection, the conversation on both sides is like the most beautiful hug that we need when we're going through these difficult times. It's the transformation from before and after. Can't tell you how many times people have said that one thing that you said, or I made the difference, or I feel like a completely different person. I'm walking out like a completely different person. And the executive clients or those people who want to work with me for longer periods of time, well, absolutely transformative, life-changing. We know that it takes 30 days to make major changes in our lives, and that 90 days hardwire change. But watching a person go from, say, lack of confidence, not having that belief in themselves, to having confidence, ready to take on the world. And I'm the guide or the ambassador to this. That in itself is so worth it because then I see them go on to be the best, better versions of themselves. And they're helping other people too.
Yeah.
You talk about the ripple effect.
For sure. So in that, context about confidence and observing this, witnessing that in them, what client story, obviously, anonymously, you have a client story you can share with us where you witness that confidence evolving and happening.
Absolutely. We were talking about this earlier about my client.
Mm,
She's in her, say, mid 20s, and she's based here at where I live in Ottawa.
mm,
And she was having a hard time with the place she was working. It's not fulfilled. It's not what she wants to do. And she couldn't see the way out. And then she thought, well, I'm going to have to move to Toronto. And that's where I'm going to go. And I'm going to find everything and figure it out there, I think. And so we had a long conversation or a couple of conversations about where I was seeing her going, what she should be doing. And it actually, I saw her in a completely different role, completely different department, and in Vancouver. So on the other side of Canada.
mm.
And she said, well, that's not happening. She couldn't see it. And so this is where ego comes in to say, well, I can't see how that's going to happen. That's not possible. So, long story short, she sent me a message not long ago to tell me she's in Vancouver, the best job ever, how it just kind of landed in her lap,
Mm,
um, and working with amazing people. It's just, she said, I didn't see it, but you led me to see, or you showed me that way. However, it came through you, and life changing, life altering in so many ways. So that was a gift. She was a gift. The whole
mhm,
experience was just joyful. That joy and intuition combined, that
mm.
it actually makes all the tough times that I went through to figure it out, it's all worth it. That was all worth it.
Yeah.
So I have peace of mind, um,
Mhm.
in knowing that that happened. The past experience happened for a reason, and I'm paying it. We're paying it to get forward together.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So give us a kind of a feel behind the scenes of you using, your intuition. In other words, what does that look like for you? And you've given us a little bit of hints and obviously some examples of when you're doing readings. But for you behind the scenes, in any given moment, any decision making, and so forth. So yeah, give us a little texture of that.
Well, I developed that practice of presence. So anytime where I'm looking at something, whether it's a client or, working with a company or making a decision, I take that time to sit, to be present, and to ask, the question, is this for my highest good? Is this a good fit for me? And I'll either get a stream thought idea of a yes, no, or some details, a little bit more details of picturing where it can go and what I would be doing, and even like the longer version of where that will take me. So I actually direct it intentionally, my intuition. And then also sometimes I'll sit on I have Wednesday meetings with my team, I call, and we just kind of sit, go over, what has happened and where I'm going. And they give me those ideas, those inspirations, to follow and act on. Sometimes I don't get to them all, but I do have a bit of a list. So it's like we're all kind of conspiring for my highest good, and as well for my clients.
Mm.
Um, I can write down a name. I did work in missing person cases when I was first starting out between 2017 and 2020,
Mhm.
where I would have a person's name, maybe a birth date, maybe a picture, something to go with, and then the information just starts to flow. So I write things down. It does come through scribing as well, writing in a journal, and I just without editing, write things out, whatever comes to my mind, pictures, ideas, words. Sometimes it's a fast download where I need to tell a deeper story, a longer story, and what that entails. It's kind of a glimpse.
Yeah, sure. Sure. So let's kind of go down this path here. So I love the question you asked is, what is for what my highest good, right? It's an excellent question. It's not the first time I've heard it. Um, but and I want to hear your response to this, and your expertise. So what our logic might think is what's good, what's our highest good, our intuition's going to tell us something sometimes that's not going to feel very good. It's not, in other words, it's going to what's your highest good. And this is the whole point of listening to intuition is to, and I know it's hard, everybody. I get it. I've been there many times, is that when our intuition tells us to turn left, but we want to turn right, and we literally ignore the intuition because we don't want to do what the intuition, if you will, is telling us for our highest good, our will is gonna keep us over on the other side. So talk a little bit to that, our highest good, and are you actually, you, not only Christy, but you listeners, are you actually open? Are you willing to hear it, even though it may not come out as what you had hoped it would be, the guidance?
Oh, such a great question.
Mhm.
Anytime
Mhm.
I knew for sure something was off, even with legal documents, I kept on thinking and feeling and knowing, don't sign this. Something doesn't feel right.
Mhm.
Uh, and when I did, I always regret it. So that idea of experience, keeping track of your experience, writing it down, noting it down when you don't follow it, I I paid attention to how I'm sensing it, how clear it was, undeniable, um, and use that as a reference point. That's my feedback. We learn, we fail forward. We figure out forward, but definitely here's another one I would say is I write down the question a couple of times over a course of a couple of days. And it's going to be more clear and evident that it's going to feel the same direction is where you're supposed to go. And sometimes we just need to let go, right? Because is that place where it's there, you're going to get the resistance. So if you go into joy, if you go into that place of love, in that practice of presence, really listening to yourself, that inner nature, you,
Mhm.
you're going to go into that place of flow where it's undeniable. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of kind of tracking it, and paying
Mhm.
attention how it's coming in.
Mhm. How do you feel about, because this is what I'll do with myself, it's what I'll do with my clients, and so forth, is I will have them ask whatever that question might be. And I want you to do two things. I want you to ask your brain and then ask your intuition and
Mm.
see what kind of answer you get. In other words, get quiet enough. And I'm with them doing this, not, okay, this is your assignment, right? And to feel the vibes in your body, because that's what, intuition is. That in my experience and belief is that, intuition is from the neck down. Our logic intellect is from the neck up. And so when you listen to your body, how does it feel? Does it feel contracted? Does it feel tense, edgy? Or does it feel light? Does it feel good? So yeah, so speak to that.
I like the idea of a combination of three
Okay.
or even four. And you take your hands to your heart and ask your heart.
Nice.
Take your hands to perhaps, the area of the solar plexus,
Mhm.
your stomach. Take your hand and ask these questions when you're going to these places or going to the head, because your head is still attached to that higher consciousness above,
Mhm.
and ask that. And all encompassing, we ask your whole system. So imagine you're just that embodiment,
Nice.
and ask the question in a variety of ways. Where your heart, does it feel, did you feel that connection, that deep connection? Perhaps in the head, it's that deep knowing. And the stomach, light, you know, or open rather than that contracting of the stomach, like that gut punch.
Yeah.
Is it open? Do you feel open to it, or is it the reverse? So paying attention to the body.
Mhm.
Even goosebumps, sometimes I get goosebumps that roll across the whole body where it validates my question. If I say, yes, do this, rolling of the goosebumps. So people, our filter, our system is going to be different. Every person is different in how it's going to come through. That's why I like to say, not necessarily it's just the gut. It's not just the gut. It's not just the second brain. It could be other areas, because every other, I'm very sensitive,
Wow.
hypersensitive, they call.
Mhm.
And it's my superpower. Whereas
Yeah.
before it was always impressed upon me as it was a negative. Whereas, okay, I feel this in my empathy and my sensitivity. This is the right place. So I use a combination of the different things.
Yeah. Well, and that's HSPs, that's highly sensitive people, right? Which is a real thing, everybody. Those of you that may not have heard that, many of you have. And that is, I mean, I obviously, as you do, I get a lot of that, being that I, in a world of creatives, and a lot of creatives are HSPs. They're empaths. And some of them don't even know it until I give them the, have you considered yourself an empath? And they're like, what? Well, do you know what one is? And I'll say, this is why I'm expressing this to you, because this, and this about you. And I'm just helping you identify, and I want you to sit with it. And how does it feel with you? But here's what an HSP usually is. And it's a beautiful talent. It's a beautiful part of who you are. Beautiful part of who you are. Like you said, it's a superpower, rather than like what you were saying, many were brought up with. I don't think our parents, bless them, were educated enough to even understand. It's okay. Society was not evolved enough to even understand what an empath was back then. But yeah, is that to embrace that superpower. So that's what you are. You're an HSP.
I believe so.
Yeah, you are. I mean, you can't have in my opinion, and tell me if I'm, incorrect, but you can't do the work you do. You can't be a medium to the level that you are without being an HSP.
Completely agree. You have to be able to feel all with everything, all part of you, inside and out, to make those kinds of connections, to be able to make that bridge. So, yeah.
100%, definitely. That. So, okay. Was there anything of recent, let's say within the last year, where again, listened to your intuition and it led you to a positive result?
in the summer, June, I was told I was supposed to be on LinkedIn. I wasn't even on LinkedIn in June. And I thought, wasn't sure if that was supposed to be my place. And they said, heck yeah. We're that idea of, oh, this isn't my place. You shouldn't,
Right.
where are we supposed to show up? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I'm going. And I found you.
I know.
And the community on LinkedIn is unbelievable. It's like LinkedIn embraced
Yeah.
me and I've met so many people,
Mm.
connected to so many people across the world. So now my clientele is expanding again. So it's when we're okay, we're gonna go see what this is about, to be curious,
Yeah.
follow that rabbit hole, and that like I'm here with you.
Yes.
If I hadn't have done that,
True.
I wouldn't have thought of you. I know when I was on LinkedIn and I was thinking and your name popped in my mind
Mm.
and the rest is history.
That's history. Yeah, and I thank God for that. I mean, I'm super, super grateful for it. Obviously, it's led to this in the previous, Zoom calls and reconnection, which I just love. I also, to your note about how LinkedIn embraced you, as I was kind of going to your profile and I was, getting you in my feed and the posts that you were doing, I was looking and noticing, I'm like, interesting, let's see how LinkedIn is accepting that she's a medium and what kind of comments is she getting. Boy, do they love you. I'm reading, you got, this one particular post, and I remember reading all of them, like, wow, they are really curious. So you do have a beautiful following and you do have people that are embracing what you have to say. It's really lovely. Yeah.
Thank you, Marla.
Yeah.
It's been interesting. And what I've also realized, even through the pandemic, even
Mhm.
my clientele shifted.
Mhm.
And now, 50% of my clientele are men. That
Interesting.
idea that
Huh.
I've given them permission or they feel comfortable with me and sharing their their experiences, their connections that they're having. And I thought, how beautiful is that? The slowing down, the pandemic forcing us to slow down and tune in. And so many people became more aware as a result of that slowdown.
That's
So, and I notice it in the LinkedIn contacts too,
mm-hmm.
who's commenting as well.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel that you still have, 5 years later, 50% of your clients are men?
The same.
Same.
Yeah.
I love that because I'm a true, true believer. I mean, every human being has, male or female, has intuitive, I mean, they have intuition. It's just a matter of building it, connecting with it, and building that spiritual muscle. And I have that in my life, the men in my life, the clients that are men and so forth. So I I mean, what would you say are some of the, and this is for you guys that you're listening, or women that have, husbands or partners or what have you in your life, that they're intuitive. Maybe you want to help them be a little more intuitive, but what are some of the qualities or the traits of these men, these clients that actually, entrust in you and want to explore that?
I would say they've had a loss of some kind. There's been a catalyst,
Mm.
whether it's a loss of a relationship, a divorce, loss of a loved one, a pet, even a health crisis. There's something become more awake, more aware, or more they slow down to really notice what's important and there it is. They're in tune with their intuition and this beautiful voice, this or messaging system is evolving and opening up for them and they're comfortable with it and
They're
then
more
they're more
vulnerable.
comfortable.
Yeah, they're more
Beautiful.
vulnerable. Yeah. They're, like you said, they've made way to have access to it, because that's what, when we're in a loss of something in our life, I mean, it brings us obviously right to our heart. It brings us to vulnerability for sure, which then gives that kind of the permission to intuition to go, okay, here I am. Very good. Okay. That's a very interesting point that you made about the mem. I love it. See, guys? We want more of that. Okay, so let's see. To kind of wrap this up, share a favorite piece of advice for the creatives on this podcast.
Like we've discussed already in our conversation, call it the practice, the presence, and peace, the
Mhm.
three P's. That helps to bring you more in alignment for that intuition to come in. And I also find that if you can, what you love to do, lean into what lifts you up, brings you that joy, cultivate more of that. Because when you're doing that, you're in flow, that flow state. And that's where intuition thrives.
Mhm.
And I'd also say some people get caught up in this idea of purpose is a one singular place, and it's not. Purpose is a moving target. You mean your purpose has meaning in different ways as you evolve through your life. So I, I would prefer people, I wish they would embrace that more.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and asking for help, remembering it's okay to ask for help, to lean on others for support.
Mhm.
Because in my experience, when they're coming for help for whatever reason, when they feel the peace, where they feel the comfort and transformation, and then I ask them the question, can you imagine if you weren't open to ask for help? You would have missed this. You would have missed that support. And so just saying, I like to say, it takes a community to raise an adult.
Yeah, that's good point. Yeah, good point.
And often I find in helping others, it lifts us up. So if you're going through a tough time, help someone. And there can be those moments that are life-changing in those little things that we do in helping others.
Mhm. Okay. The three P's, everybody. Well, that practice, presence, and peace. Right. That's it. It's kind of like the opening door to your channel. So, all right, where can listeners get in touch with you, and what would you like to offer?
On my website, www.christieflynn.com. I'm on Facebook as Psychic Medium Christie Flynn, IG as Christie Lee Flynn, and LinkedIn. I actually have a book I wrote about an
Yes,
experience, so we didn't touch on that,
I
but I used
saw
my
that. Yeah.
intuition. I used intuition to find the person for me. And I wrote the book called How to Date a Guy and Get It Right, the 7 core concepts to multiply your confidence and attract your dream partner. And that's on Amazon.
That's
And if people want to get in contact for a 15-minute strategy session, reach out through the website.
Mhm.
I'd
Fantastic.
love to help.
And you do that very well. You know, when I read in on your information, preparing for this, I didn't even know anything about this book. And I went, you wrote a book on how to date a girl? Look at that. Oh my gosh, I have to get it. I'm gonna have to buy that. Had no idea. We haven't even talked about that. Didn't even know it. So was it written based on, again, your own experience in attracting your current partner?
Absolutely. What I found after leaving a relationship of 26 years, I was stuck in figuring out what was that person, who is my person. And I believe some of the work that we had done came into play in that I wrote, what I don't want, what I need to be clear on what I don't want because I was attracting, I think, in 51 dates online and meeting people. I was attracting the same type of person. So I wrote out that list, took a break, went off everything, took a break, and then went back on. And I met my person. We've been together 9 years.
Isn't that terrific? Wow. So there you have it, ladies. If you're in the market for obviously a new partner, maybe that's your entrance to Christie's world, right? Besides this podcast. So that's so cool. Yeah, I'm buying it. Definitely could, help with this girl. So, okay. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Marla. Such a blessing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And everybody, I hope that gave you some very, very front view insight to not only what it's like to obviously embrace your intuition, but listen to a medium that uses that, and obviously Christie's story. So terrific. All right. And also all of you is I have, and I'll drop the link as Christie's info as well, of course, in the show notes, is I encourage you, this is, we're in a new year here in the first quarter of the year. I know some of you listening absolutely are looking to, and this is for my women, that you're looking for that next chapter, right? You're in kind of a place of, what does that look like? Who am I in that next chapter? Well, one of my lead programs is called A New Identity, right? Life Design Mentorship. So it's for women that are truly wanting to be the empowered, intuitive, confident woman in your next version, right? Who is that next version? So I'm going to drop a link for you to begin that with a 45-minute, let's get to know each other. Use the link. It's a form with several questions so that we can open the conversation. Yeah. Okay. Again, thank you so much, Christie. And I know we will be connecting, obviously, from here on out. And everyone, you all have a beautiful rest of your day or morning, wherever you are in the world. Be well and be blessed. And I'll see you on the next episode. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my free downloads to up-level your business and your life. And Instagram. It's my favorite place to hang out. Let's connect there. If you received inspiration from the episode, I'd sure appreciate a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Until next episode, take care.